The night was merciless. Rain lashed against the empty streets, the wind howling through the alleys like a restless ghost. Alex Carter pulled his coat tighter around his shoulders as he hurried home from the late shift at the hospital. He had seen enough suffering for one night. But just as he reached the final turn to his apartment, a sound stopped him, a whimper, faint, fragile, almost swallowed by the storm. There, huddled beneath a flickering street lamp, was a dog, a black Labrador, soaked to the bone, shivering with each breath. His golden eyes, full of something unspoken, met Alex's, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. A stray, abandoned. Alex knew that look too well. It was the same one he saw in patients who had given up. Without thinking, he knelt beside the dog. "Hey buddy, you all alone?" The dog didn't flinch, just stared as if waiting for something. An invitation, a reason to hope. Alex sighed, feeling a tug in his chest he couldn't ignore. "All right, let's get you inside." As the rain poured, as the night swallowed the city whole, Alex carried the trembling dog home, unaware that this moment would change both their lives forever. It took 3 days before the dog let his guard down. He barely touched his food at first, sleeping curled up in the smallest corner he could find. Alex watched him, seeing pieces of himself in the wary creature. It wasn't just a stray. This was a soul that had known abandonment loss. One evening, as Alex sat on the couch, lost in thought, the dog approached for the first time. He placed his head gently on Alex's knee, his warm breath steady, his golden eyes locked onto Alex. "You're like a shadow," Alex murmured, stroking the dog's damp fur. Always there, but never fully seen. The name stuck, Shadow. As the days passed, Shadow became more than a presence. He became a companion. Every morning, he followed Alex to the door, watching him leave with quiet understanding. And every night, he waited. There was something profound in the way Shadow stayed close, never demanding, just there, a silent promise. But Alex wasn't the only one saving a life. The nightmares had started again. Memories of the accident that took everything from him, his fiancée, his unborn child. The guilt gnawed at him, an endless hunger that no amount of time could satiate. One night, it was worse than usual. Alex woke up gasping, sweat slick on his skin, his hands shaking as he tried to steady his breathing. And then he felt it, warmth pressed against his side. Shadow, silent, steady, unwavering. Alex buried his face in Shadow's fur, his body racked with silent sobs. He hadn't cried in years, but Shadow didn't move. He just stayed, a living anchor in the storm. That night, for the first time in a long time, Alex didn't feel alone. It was a Saturday morning when it happened. Alex and Shadow were at the park, their routine becoming a source of stability in Alex's otherwise chaotic life. Shadow loved chasing birds, his tail wagging like a metronome of pure joy. Then, out of nowhere, a scream. Alex turned just in time to see a toddler slip from the edge of the park's pond, the water swallowing him whole. Time slowed, but before Alex could react, Shadow was already moving. A blur of black fur, a splash, the desperate gasps of a child fighting to stay afloat. Shadow reached the boy in seconds, his powerful legs cutting through the water with ease. The boy clung to him, his tiny fingers grasping the dog's thick fur as Shadow guided him back to shore. By the time Alex reached them, the boy was cuffing, his mother sobbing with relief. Shadow stood there, dripping and panting, eyes locked onto Alex, as if waiting for approval. Alex knelt, his hands shaking as he held Shadow's face. "You saved him," he whispered. "You saved him, boy." Shadow only wagged his tail. News spread fast. "Local dog saves child." The headlines called him a hero. But to Alex, he had always been one. Not because of what he did that day, but because of what he did every day. Shadow wasn't just a pet. He was family. He was a guardian of the heart, a healer of invisible wounds. And perhaps, in saving that little boy, he had also saved Alex in ways he never thought possible. One night as they sat on the porch, Alex ran his fingers through Shadow's fur. "I thought I was the one rescuing you," he murmured. "Turns out you were rescuing me all along." Shadow thumped his tail against the wooden floor as if to say, "You were never alone. You just needed to see it." And for the first time in a long time, Alex believed it. Years passed, seasons changed, and life continued its unpredictable course. Shadow grew older, his muzzle graying, his movements slower, but his spirit remained unbroken. The night he left, Alex sat beside him, his hand resting on Shadow's chest, feeling the last beats of a heart that had given him everything. The world seemed quieter, emptier. But as Alex looked up at the night sky, he smiled through his tears. Because some bonds never fade, some love never dies, and some shadows never truly leave. They just walk beside us, unseen, but always felt.